right. We are getting ourselves rolling here. We'll get started here in about a minute or two, and off we'll go running. I think we can get going here. I am very excited to be talking about this conversation today. Past clients. Holy cow, gang. What an opportunity for long-term sustained success. Past clients are something that often do not get enough time and attention. And one of my favorite agents out there, Mr. Nick Keller, once said this line that just really struck me. And he said, as far as my job as a real estate agent, my job begins when my clients close on the property. His job as a realtor actually starts when they close. I love that mindset that your job is not over. Your job's not done even when they get the accepted offer. Your job is just started when they close on the transaction, because you should be in the mindset of keeping that relationship for life. And if you can keep those relationships that you have earned by serving them in the real estate pursuits, my goodness, you're built to last as a realtor. Now I'm going to take a tweak on what Nick said, and I'm going to say your job really starts, as far as client retention, it starts the moment they get themselves the status of being your client. I think a lot of average realtors are guilty of this. We fight hard to maybe meet people. We fight to get connections. We get leads handed to us. And what do? Well, we get them under contract to become our clients. And now we hope the automated search is going to help them find the right house that we can show them and write offers for them on. We hope that we list it at the right amount so that we get an offer and get them pended. And as soon as we can get them pended, we can get on to the next shiny object, the next appointment, the next client that we hope will then pop really fast. And something I've really come to realize is the average realtor is not the greatest at nurturing. And we have these amazing systems out there. We have amazing ISA departments. I think the more hands that are fishing, the more chances you have. We cannot just depend on systems and ISAs alone. We've got to take ownership on keeping these relationships in-house. So what are we going to be talking about today? Well, it's about retention. And retention begins with when you have a client active that you're helping search or sell their house for. So we're going to talk about the consistent 6 follow-ups to make sure agents are consistently communicating with clients. The end of a relationship often is right here. We get them under contract, and then we just let the automation of the search do the work for us. And already we have a very civil, surface level relationship that will not translate well when they become a past client. So we got those 6 consistent follow-ups that we'll be talking about. Next, we have the past client annual stipend. The past client annual stipend. What are you committing to the past client effort? Thirdly, we're going to unpack the pended phase of client care. How to make sure you take care of your clients from pended to close. This is another sector where we often just leave our clients floating and communicating with them in the most minimal way possible. So how do we up our game with that and start planning to serve them well after they close? Finally, we're going to talk about the 12-touch past client plan. Scalable, consistent communication with all of our clients well after they have closed. If we do all 4 of these things, I believe that you can have a built to last business filled with abundant referrals, repeat business to the point where you're going to have to hire more people to help support that. And that's a good place to be in. So let's get started here with the 6 consistent follow-ups. I think a lot of realtors know that they should be following up on a regular basis with all their clients. Very few do. And even those that know that they should be doing it aren't really sure what good follow-up looks and sounds like. They know the word follow-up, but what do? Do you call them every single day? Do you call them once a month, once a week? And do you just talk about if there's any houses to look at and that's it? There is more to it than that, my friends. Here is a list of 6 reasons to follow up with your clients. Here's what I believe. You should set an expectation with your client. How often do they expect to hear from you on a weekly basis, especially if there's no houses to look at? And in my experience, I find that a lot of clients, and I'm talking buy side right now, I'm seeing that a lot of clients, they say something like, if there's no houses to look at, we want to hear from you at least once a week. And some will say twice a week. Those few who really want to hear from you may want more. But on average, most people want to hear from you once or twice a week. So we should honor that request and we should schedule a consistent follow-up time block in our calendar. And we should take that as seriously as a lead gen time block. We should protect that time because that constant communication is what's going to make sure relationships don't start to fracture and we lose clients that we've already earned. That's called living with a leaking bucket. You're filling it up with clients, but your poor follow-up means they are vanishing because of your poor communication. So we should schedule these daily. And let's say you have 20 clients and they all want to hear from you once a week. Well, let's divide and conquer that. You want to bucketize, and I'm talking concrete, non-leaky buckets. You want to bucketize this list. And if you have 20 clients, well, divide it by the 5 days of the week, Monday through Friday. And now you have 4 of those clients who are in your Monday bucket. Those 4 clients are going to always hear from you on Mondays. So you hit that standard of once a week communication. A different 4 in the Tuesday bucket, so on and so forth. And if you have a client who wants to hear from you twice a week, okay, put them in the Monday bucket and the Tuesday bucket or the Wednesday bucket. So you sit down to this time block, you know your short list of who you're following up with, and it should not be this monstrous, massive, out of control list. You should be able to divide and conquer your follow-up appropriately by bucketizing your leads Monday through Friday to follow up consistently. So now there's some of the setup, some of the time management, the organization of it. Now you're going to put this list into effect. If you sit down on Monday to call the first person on your Monday bucket list, the first thing you could talk to them about is their search results. Number 1 on this list of 6 reasons is a search results discussion. This is not rocket science. You've all done this. It's pretty much talking to them about what their automated search is throwing at them. Regular conversation about, hey, it gave you 3 options. None of those seem to be helping with our search. Tell me more about those 3 properties. What do you not like about them? Help me understand so we can maybe keep tuning and fine tuning this search. Hey, we looked at that one, the other 2 not so much. Let's talk about those other 2. Do we agree that one wasn't the right fit for you or does it still have potential? That's what this follow-up could sound like. And if you really go deep with that, if you practice some tell me more and really seek to understand their thoughts on the search results, you can have a nice, decent amount of time spent following up with them. And now check, you followed up with those people for the week. On to the next one to repeat that. Now week 2 rolls around and you have that same Monday bucket. And now you're going to do a market summary knowledge share with that client. What is a market summary knowledge share? Well, this is you being an educator to make sure your clients understand this market. Maybe you call them to give them an update on, noticing the interest rate went up 0.25%, what that means for purchasing power. Maybe you call to educate them that the price range they're looking for on average takes X number of days for properties to pen. The days on market is Y amount for this price point. Any little tidbit about the market you can share with them to educate them, to get them up to speed, to show value that you are knowledgeable is what this is all about. It's not talking about the actual search. It's just giving them tidbits of real estate nuggets that I believe will make them better in the long haul. Now we have item 3 here, the Ford connection. This again has nothing to do with real estate. You get to week 3 of that Monday follow-up, and you are calling this client and you are connecting with them about something they care about, something they are all about. For those of you who do not know, FORD is an acronym for family, occupation, recreation, and dreams. 4 topics you could talk to anyone about. Hopefully by now you've learned a little bit about them, and you can reach out of the blue and say, hey, how was your trip to the lake this past weekend? Hey, how'd your son do in that soccer tournament? Taking an interest in them as people is huge to this relationship. Shocker, right? Being interested in them as people is huge for a relationship. Mind-blowing stuff, I know. You can also share a little about yourself with them. One of my favorite things I've done is, send a picture of myself at my favorite brewery, and I have my laptop and my pint in front of me, and I share with the client, needed a change of scenery, great place to end the day. Heck, come over if you can. And get a response from a client who says, oh, I am so jealous. That looks awesome. If only I could. And that's some fun back and forth conversation that, again, has nothing to do with the task at hand. It's just building rapport. Whether you care to ask how things are going with their FORD life or share something about your FORD, build rapport that has nothing to do with the real estate task. On to week 4 then. So you get back to that Monday. It's week 4. You follow up with the same client. You've been at it for almost a month now. Time for a morale check-in. This call is simply asking them, how are they feeling? You've been looking, you've been keeping your eyes open. How's this been going? Is there any way you can be better? What is their temperature for this stuff? Solely focusing on their morale, and if there's any tweaks or adjustments you can make to be better for them. Now we're on to week 5. Extra effort home viewing. This has helped save a lot of relationships that have started to cool out there. Just when it feels like maybe the client is starting to second guess if you can help them out, if you care about them, if you're proactive for them, you go and tell them, hey, a new property came on the market and it's not exactly what you're looking for, but it does have A, B, and C of what you're looking for. You don't have to, but I think I'm going to go look at it for you. I'm going to go take a peek. If you want, you can join me, but no pressure. And one way or the other, I'm going to give you my thoughts on it. This can be so huge because you demonstrate proactivity, initiative. It lets them know you are thinking about them and you're willing to work for them by being willing to go to a property and look at it even without them, because you're critically thinking about what their needs are and if there's anything out there for them. A lot of people who start to wonder if the realtor cares about them will say, oh my gosh, they were willing to do that for me. Okay, I like this realtor. I'm going to stick with them. Great, great reason to follow up with people. Now we get to week 6, search criteria review. So you've been in 6 weeks of working with these clients and following up with them regularly like this. Well, it makes sense for the 6th item on this list to be a search criteria review. After 6 weeks, if you haven't found the property, well, let's look at the criteria we developed together, the bedrooms, the bathrooms, the area, the price range. Can you strategize with your client if there's any tweaks to be made for the search to create new options for them? That's what this conversation is about. Is there any tweaks? You make those tweaks, and now here's what happens. Week 7 rolls around, and now you go back to the top of this list of 6 follow-ups, because it makes sense to go back to number 1, which is the search results discussion, to then actively discuss with them what the new search pumped out. And if there was any contenders there, their thoughts of the new opportunities it unveiled or lack thereof. And now you go back down that list and repeat. If you do this well, you can do this 6 weeks and then go back to the top where it makes sense to start over and have consistent follow-up for your clients. We have got to follow up regularly when they're actively looking for the property to keep sure this relationship is healthy, to make sure this relationship is healthy. Words are hard sometimes. Now, if you are on the listing side of things, you can tweak this a little bit. The market summary knowledge share, that remains the same. The FORD connection, the morale check-in, those are all a part of listing follow-up. What you can incorporate instead of the 3 that I didn't name there is you can add a comparable market review on a regular basis. You can add an extra effort you can add in a showing feedback session. And then you can also, of course, do the good old price and marketing and improvements discussion. Those of you who've done listings, I don't think any of those three are particularly wild, but I think it bears naming again that, yeah, you can do a market summary knowledge share with a listing. You can do a forward connection with a listing. You can do morale check-in with a listing. And then you can do this comparable market share, which basically means you let them know, hey, a property just came on the market that's very similar to yours. They listed at this amount. I just want to let you know, let's keep an eye on what happens with that property. Or you might tell them, hey, a property very similar to yours just closed at this dollar amount. How do you feel about that dollar amount that it closed for versus what we're listed at? And you're using other properties in the market to have some strategic conversations with your listings. The other one I mentioned there, the showing feedback review. We all know that showing feedback is important. A lot of agents don't get it. It can be so valuable that even if you're getting decent feedback, which often comes through some of these online platforms, to make sure you call a listing regularly and say, hey, let's reflect on the last couple of weeks. All in all, we've had X number of showings. And of those showings, we've gotten consistent feedback of Y type. You should not let the automated feedback do the work for you. You should always make sure you have a week where you sum up the amount of showings you've gotten in the feedback. Then that last one, well, we've all had that point, that condition, price, marketing conversation. Let's be honest between all of us. The marketing is not the problem. It's often that the condition of the property needs to be changed or the price is too high. You should make a commitment to your sellers that, hey, week one, we're going to list at this amount. If 6 weeks have gone by, we will absolutely be having a conversation about the condition and price of a property. So you set that expectation. Ideally, they understand and agree. So it's easier to dive into this on week 6 to say, hey, here we are. It's time to have that conversation about the price and condition of the house. And you talk price reductions, you talk about any repairs or improvements. And then again, you go back to the top of this list and repeat the follow-up for listings. I think this list needs to be implemented to make sure you keep good relationships when your clients are looking. And here's something to keep in mind. Here's part 2 of what I want to cover with you, this past client annual stipend. How much is a past client worth? I think they are worth so much more than what we set aside for them. A past client has seen you do your job. They know you can do this real estate thing. And each one of your past clients has a sphere list of their own, a sphere of influence of 100, 150, more than that. So many relationships that they can connect you to. Yet we treat that investment like garbage, in my opinion. We need to give way more time to past clients, and we need to consider setting aside some money for our clients. Here's what I would encourage you to do. For every closing you have on the way, are you budgeting the commission you're getting appropriately? Are you setting aside a portion of that commission for your taxes? Are you making sure you're paying yourself a salary from that commission? Are you setting aside some of that money to make an annual stipend for your past client? Let's say that soon-to-be past client got you $6,000 in commission, and that person could give you a referral. What's that worth? Well, I'd encourage you to consider setting aside $100, $200. So you have a budget to plan activities to engage that soon-to-be past client, because some of this stuff to take care of them, to show them care, to show them connection might cost some money. So budget for that. What if for every single soon-to-be past client, you made sure you set aside $200 and every single past client had $200 for you to reinvest into the relationship? In my honest opinion, I think that's too little, but it's something to start with. Because pouring into them, giving more to that investment, I believe will pay off tenfold what that $200 investment cost. So very simple, something to consider. Are you ready to set aside a stipend for your past clients on a per client basis? Is it a percentage of the commission? Is it a flat rate? You can decide based on what kind of care you want to give. I'm going to give you some ideas of what to do here shortly. But that past client annual stipend, I think it's something you should look into. Pretty short and sweet on that one, gang. We covered the 6 consistent follow-ups. We've now covered the past client annual stipend. Now let's get back to the journey our clients are on. So with good follow-up, we should be able to keep the relationship alive and well. We should be able to keep good rapport as we not only talk about the search, as we not only talk about the market and educating them on it, as we're not only just building morale, we're doing all those things to make sure the relationship stays strong. So we eventually get them a win. We get them a pended transaction. And again, a lot of times realtors then stop communicating. They say, thank goodness I got them to this point. I got to go pay attention to some other people still looking. And we let our pended clients just sit there. And oftentimes the relationship will dry up in that pended to closing phase. I think we need to schedule that continued follow-up. We need to keep our buckets alive and well. We need that Monday bucket to have a pended client Monday bucket, a Tuesday, so on and so forth. Divide all your pended clients, sort them appropriately, make sure they are still hearing from you once a week. Now, what on earth could you be talking to a pended client about? Well, you could absolutely add in some forward connection, some morale. Some of those activities from the follow-up list you could translate over to the pended list. You could also create this checklist. You're gonna need a couple checklists here. You could go down this checklist and make sure you've communicated with them each one of these items. Some of these are pretty straightforward. Some of these might be a nice little tip. Obviously, right away, are you communicating the inspection time and date? Make sure that gets scheduled. Are you communicating with them to get through that phase? After you get through the inspection phase, are you communicating with them when the appraisal is going to be due back? Letting them know when that is supposed to be back so they have some light at the end of the tunnel. And then lastly, once you get through appraisal, you do the final walkthrough confirmation. You do the final walkthrough before closing. Those are pretty typical, not anything mind-blowing. Between the pended and closing phase, you should also do at least 2 forward connections to connect with them as human beings. You should reach out to remind them to get their utilities switched off and or switched over to the next property and remind them of how to do that. You should do a follow-up to see if they've looked into getting their insurance lined up and taken care of and give them some resources for that. You should follow up with a fun little packing strategy tips and tricks sheet. Things like the 2 boxes a day rhythm, just pack 2 boxes a day and you'll get there. To start with seasonal items to get them out of the way. To pack up the non-essential rooms so you have space to store all these boxes. I've seen teams make a quick little blurb you can email out when you know they're getting to that point where they're starting to pack up. A whole new value add from you. Quick, fun little communication to pack up strategically. On that note, are you following up to offer a quote for a moving company? Giving them options. Hopefully you maybe have found a moving company that'll give you a discount for that service to put their name out there. But are you serving them beyond the pended offer with all these different things like packing tips, moving quotes, all good reasons to follow up with a pended client? Here's a fun one. I go to the website for the city and you can look at the garbage schedule for pickup. You could do a quick reach out to say, hey, you're so close to closing, FYI. There's probably gonna be a lot of garbage as you move in. Your pickup day for garbage is gonna be on Tuesdays. Looked it up for you. What amazing client care you are demonstrating by doing little things like that even. Now here's some fun ones that we're gonna wrap with. Power of moments. Do something out of the ordinary, unexpected. Show up with a gift card. Text them a gift card. Tell them to take a break, go out for pizza or dinner. You've been packing hard, I know it. Take a night off. Dinner, drinks on me. Go have fun. Show up the week of. Offer to have a professional photographer or just yourself with your phone. Take a picture of them outside of the house they're about to be done with. Assuming it's a happy change and they have fond memories at that house, offer to do a quick impromptu family photo shoot. Just on the stoop, on the front porch. I personally had that done for my first house, which was a fond experience. And we have a picture of me and my family in front of our first house hanging in our current house. Beautiful, fun little experience. Again, assuming it's a happy change. Hope I'm giving you a lot of opportunities here. Tons of list of things to follow up with a pending client about. Make this a checklist and follow up week in, week out, a couple times a week if their closing date isn't that far away. Give them all this value to show you care about them. They're not a transaction. You can also give them a heads up for a client event coming up if you do those. What is a client event? Give them a schedule of the upcoming client events that you want to invite them to. Essentially, a save the date for those coming. And then another fun thing you can do, you could organize, if they're first-time home buyers, some good tips and tricks for home maintenance. Simple little email reminding them to replace filters regularly, to turn off water lines if it starts to get too cold, to check gutters and downspouts on a regular basis to make sure they're not clogging, to always check the slope of their property to make sure it's not going towards the house, to test smoke detectors regularly. Again, this quality service to let them know I care about you and your experience in this soon to be new house of yours. Here's some more maintenance tips for you to consider as you get moved in. At the end of the day, gang, all you need is a reason to check in with your pending clients. And hopefully this list is abundant to have consistent communication, not for the sake of communication, but for good reason with all these. I think there's like, holy cow, about 15 purposes, reasons, points to reach out to your pending clients. Don't go radio silent on them, gang. Keep the communication going right up to closing. Speaking of, as you're waiting for closing to occur and you're doing this amazing, consistent follow-up with your Monday through Friday buckets, you should spend some time planning out your client care plan. Words are really hard right now. Gosh, it's like I've been talking a ton right now. You should be looking to create a client care plan, and this requires some maintenance. So imagine this. You have time blocked into your calendar. Maybe it's just 30 minutes, maybe it has to be an hour, where weekly you sit down, you look at the list of your pending clients and you say, have I uploaded some crucial information I will need to be able to keep the relationship going later? Do I have this in the CRM where I won't forget some important stuff that'll help me take care of the relationship after they've closed? What am I talking about? Well, do you make sure that you have the closing anniversary noted in the CRM? That one's pretty obvious. You should be able to track that down even if you missed it. But why not, with the closing date in mind, make sure you have that documented in a note on the CRM. So later on, spoiler alert, you can schedule a regular closing reach out. Closing anniversary reach out. You should also make sure you upload their birthdays. Have you captured the birthday or birthdays of the family? You will want to be scheduling those birthdays annually on your calendar to reach out to them. This next thing you need to make sure you capture, this is not so common. Those first ones are kind of obvious. This next one, not so much. We should be in the business of making sure we can upload and capture at least 3 crucial Ford facts. Again, that Ford is family, occupation, recreation, dreams. Things about your client, things that matter to them, things they care about. Have you slowed down to learn what those things are? And can you document at least 3 of those in the CRM so you remember who they are as people? Here's what I've seen if that doesn't get done. I have seen agents out there, and all they can remember about their past client from 18 months ago is, yeah, they bought 123 Main Street. I think I had something about them. They're from Iowa originally. And that's it. That's the gist of what their information is telling them in the CRM. What can you do with that? That type of tracking of the relationship is going to lead to moments where you bump into that client 18 months later and they say, hey, Connor, and you have deer in the headlights when you know they're a client, but you don't remember who the heck they are. And you say, hey, you, how's the house? What a horrible, horrible type of agent we're being if we let ourselves get to that point. But here's what I have found works. If we upload 3 Ford facts, if we take the time to even uncover those about someone, And we learned that Connor, the client, is a diehard Green Bay Packers fan, that he loves craft breweries, and that he is such an avid fan of making hot sauces. Oh, you have that documented, you make mental note of that, and you say, all right, Connor, my client, the Packer fan, the craft beer lover, the hot sauce maker. I remember Connor now. These 3 Ford facts help us remember people's 3-dimensional human beings, not names on paper. And now with those 3 Ford facts uploaded so you never forget them from years on end, what you could do with those facts to have customizable engagement for that client. What a beautiful segue. I'm going to pat myself on the back for that. Oh, well done. That time where you sit down weekly to make sure you've found this information and uploaded it in the CRM for all your pending clients will set you up to make sure you can do a 12-touch past client plan. I'm talking about 12 scheduled reach outs to all of your past clients. So every past client hears from you at least 12 times a year. And just as I said earlier, it's not just reach out for reach out's sake, it is to reach out with a clear reason. So what might this 12-touch past client plan look like? Well, first and foremost, you should, when you've gathered those Ford facts, look to schedule out some unique Ford fact activities to follow up with that client about. What do I mean by that? Well, you've captured that your client Connor is a diehard Green Bay Packers fan. So you're going to make that Ford fact activity number 1. Well, let's think critically here. What time of year might make the most sense to reach out to Connor about a football thing he cares about? Well, probably late August, early September. If you Google it, that's about when the NFL season starts. So you should schedule a reoccurring reach out to Connor to say, hey, it's another year. How do you think your Green Bay Packers are going to be doing? And if this is something I care about and my realtor reaches out to me about something I care about, I'm going to be more than happy. I'm going to oblige in engaging him on my thoughts about the season. And now I'm having this beautiful conversation with my old realtor on a regular basis about my love of my Green Bay Packers. I've heard of an instance where a past client and the agent, they started an annual bet. Like every year when they did something like this, it started a bet because the agent was a Vikings fan. And I think it was a Chicago Bears fan was the client. Well, they play each other twice a year. They created this fun bet banter thanks to this Ford fact. That relationship is not going anywhere. That client and that agent have a good thing going, and that's what we're talking about replicating here on a scalable basis with these Ford facts. So football equals late August, early September, reoccurring reach out about the Green Bay Packers. Activity 2, well, he loves craft beer. Okay, well, craft beer, that's year round. You could pick any time of year. Maybe when the season switches to fall and summer beers are getting done and now it's getting to fall beers. Maybe you reach out to Connor, your old client, and maybe you're at a brewery and you say, hey, new seasonal just came out. Have you tried this? Have you been to this brewery? Hey, have you had any new beers lately? And again, if that's something I care about, I'm going to be happy to receive that. To be remembered 3-dimensionally as a human being when my agent reaches out to me and remembers I care about craft beer or enjoy it, that's pretty darn awesome. And I'll engage them back on that. So you could schedule that sometime in, I don't know, maybe October, November if you wanted to, anytime with that one. That one's pretty year round. Then you have Ford Fact 3. Connor loves making hot sauce. Again, that's a year round thing. You could pair it with Cinco de Mayo, whatever. And you can make it a point to reach out and just regularly say, hey, what's your favorite hot sauce of the moment, man? Summer's fast approaching. I want to have some good hot sauces for grill season. And you regularly schedule this reoccurring, hey, what's your hot sauce of the moment, man? Would love your advice. And Connor, the client, would be happy to now become this hot sauce guru for his agent on an annual basis. These are powerful, beautiful connections that you can scale out in your year. And it's talking to people about pretty fun stuff if you take the time to identify what they care about as people. Those Ford facts require some planning, but hopefully I just vision casted for you how easy it can be if you just stop for a minute, plan it and schedule it. Now we got 3 of the touches covered. So what else are there? Well, we have those obvious ones that you also made sure you had uploaded. The home anniversary. Tons of teams have a great automated home anniversary strategy. Maybe the team will send out a card for you or just have you sign the card. I think that's great. And go a step further, always make sure you do a phone call to wish them a happy home anniversary. Ask them how the house has been. Get on the phone, get voice to voice with them in addition to a card. Now you schedule that obviously the week of, the day of their home anniversary that they closed, and set it on repeat. Birthdays. Capture the birthdays. Schedule the birthdays. Make sure you reach out to them on their birthday. This one especially, you should have a reminder for yourself. Do a Friday reminder to check the next 7 days worth of upcoming birthdays so you have time to prepare. Some of these clients maybe have been so awesome, you want to get them a customized gift. You don't have to, but more power to you if you do. It might take some time to order, to research, to figure out. Maybe Connor, the past client's been so awesome, you want to be able to make sure you go purchase Connor, I don't know, his favorite hot sauce from the hot sauce company in Austin, Texas, and a 6-pack of his favorite craft beer. You get that to Connor on his birthday with a handwritten note. Holy cow, what quality service you're providing. Requires some planning. So 7-day advance to check what's coming up for birthdays is a good practice. At minimum, you don't have to go that far, but at minimum, you should make it a point to call, to write out a handwritten note, get it in the mail so to get it on their birthday. Prioritize their birthday. That is a special day for the person living it. And don't be the Facebook messenger, don't be the texter. Do above what the typical people are going to do. Get a phone call, get a handwritten note in there. Client events. Depending on your team, you may have 1 client event, no client events, or 4, 5, 6 client events. This one's pretty obvious. Anytime there's a client event, it is a great opportunity to reach out and invite someone to come attend that event, get them signed up so you can see them in person. If you do not have client events, here's especially where that stipend I mentioned earlier could come into play. Maybe if you did have $200 set aside per past client that you've budgeted for, you could make it a point to plan your own client event. Maybe you reserve a space at a restaurant and you're going to buy appetizers for all your clients. You want to invite them out and thank them, and you make it happen, and you have budgeted that money already. If you don't have client events, consider making your own. Beautiful way to get people invited out and to see them in person, build connections. Heck, introductions from client to client can be a beautiful thing. To build a network where maybe one client who you know is a contractor, get their name out to some of your other clients, and vice versa with other people in certain industries. It's cool community building if you think about it that way. So the home anniversaries, the birthdays, client events, stuff I think we've all heard of that we should be very intentional about. There are things you can do in addition to all the things I've covered. Depending on your client events, we're like halfway there or then some. We've given you 6 touches. What are the rest? Well, you should always plan a home pop by at least once a year where you go to the house and see how it's looking since they got settled. To bring them a housewarming gift, typically to plan this out within the first 30, 60, 90 days of them closing, getting packed in, getting settled and used to their home. Great thing to schedule annually. And I mean annually, not only to see how it's been the first year, but to go visit and see how the house has been unfolding for them. It's home ownership, new issues might have occurred. Maybe you want to go check out any issues that have happened and say, hey, I've got a contractor I could connect you with. Maybe you want to go see what projects they've maybe done to the house. A regular snapshot of their time in the house is really cool to check out. One of the coolest things I've heard happen, someone did an annual pop-by and they got familiar, like at the pop-by, I think they found out that the couple was expecting. Then a year later, they did the pop-by and the couple showed them the nursery and where the kiddo was playing and hanging out. What a cool lifestyle if you think about it that way, what it could become to do this consistently. I'm getting jazzed because this is what the job should be. This is what the good stuff is, to have these relationships that you're proximate with, that you share life with. Holy cow, that is the easiest form of lead gen we're talking about, gang. Anyway, it's feel goods. It's feel goods. Holiday connection. I think we could schedule doing this twice. Here's where we could have some fun. Ask yourself, what are your favorite holidays? What holidays do you love? Is it something obvious? It's like Christmas, Halloween, or are you goofy and you like Cinco de Mayo or National Arbor Day? More power to you if you're an Arbor Day fan. Go trees. But if you have some favorite holidays, make that an opportunity to reach out to all your clients. Have fun with it. A simple text to wish them happy National Arbor Day, happy April Fool's Day. Follow up with a joke if it's April Fool's Day. Do something with the holidays. The holidays are a good reason to engage people and have fun with it. Especially if you have that stipend, maybe spend a little money to do some fun cards for the holiday or a fun little treat. Something fun around the holiday is festive, it's cool, good reason to just engage your clients out of nowhere, out of the blue. This next one, personal brand connection. So we have at least 3 Ford facts about our clients. Are you aware of some Ford facts about yourself? I sure hope you are. We should use our own Ford about ourselves to engage people. Maybe it is indeed that you're a diehard football fan. Maybe you have a giant fantasy football league. And part of your whole brand connection is you invite your past clients to do fantasy football with you year in and year out, maybe 50 leagues if you're crushing this. Point is, what is something you care about and how can you use that to engage your clients to join you in that? Maybe when you are a craft beer fan and you like going to some of the local breweries, maybe you regularly invite your clients out on Tuesdays or Wednesdays, knowing that you'll be there. And you build a little brewery tribe every so often. What could you connect with your clients about that's something you enjoy? Kind of fun. Doing what you like with your clients, not just what they care about. Gratitude or impact message. This is typically great for the end of the year as you look back on what you've accomplished. It is great to sit down and make sure you message all of your past clients what they have meant to you, what their trust in you has done for you and your family, for your livelihood, to celebrate them, who they are as a person, to thank them and appreciate them. Oftentimes I see a huge blitz in November through December of gratitude impact messages to past clients. And I think that is a great tactic, a great time. But you don't have to do it that time. You could do it any point in the year. You could spread this out if you need to. In the thick of all this stuff, twice in the year, if you are doing all this relational connection that has very little to do with anything you need from them, it should be such a no-brainer that twice a year you should make an ask for referrals. You should make sure you schedule 2 referral asks in the thick of all these activities. And if you have maintained consistent connection with them, consistently showing them value in all these different ways, it should be a no-brainer to them when you say, hey, it's Connor. Hope you're having a good week. The reason I'm reaching out this time is wondering if you're happy to talk business. I'm looking for your help. As you know all too well, I thrive based on referrals. Me and my family succeed based on people supporting us. And well, I named this at the closing table when we parted ways, and we've kept in touch. I'm looking for help to see if you know anyone who could use help with buying or listing. That simple. You do that twice a year in the thick of all this value, there should be no question of, is it awkward to ask them for this? No, you've been present in their lives consistently. They know you exist. They value you. All of this effort, all of this consistent communication, you are fresh in their mind. Of course, you're going to ask every so often for their help. And most people, psychologically, people are happy to help if you ask for their help. So give them the opportunity. You've been giving them all this value. Make the ask, schedule it twice a year. And with all this value, they're going to be actively thinking about you. And they will never forget you. And anytime they know someone who needs help, you will get connected. And now you will be plugging into this beautiful world of awesome relationships, awesome community, where they are actively looking and thinking about you, coming back to you. And now you have an amazing lead source and a great quality of life. That's what this 12-touch plan can do. Some of the best purposeful lead gen. It should be fun. It should be great. If you feel like you do not have the time for this, you've got to make the time. You've got to find leverage to make this a priority. Because if you keep the people you have served, you will have sustainability as a realtor. And that should be worthy of your time, your talent, your treasure. I love this stuff, gang, and it's all relationships. It starts with taking good care of people when they're officially a client and giving them consistent follow-up. It then transitions to consistent communication, regular communication and value when they're in the pended phase all the way through to closing. And then it has the time set aside to make sure you schedule continuous follow-up when they're past clients, purposeful follow-up with a stipend to fuel some or all of those efforts whenever you realize there's some money that might be needed. Implement these things, these lists, these regularly scheduled habits, and that is how you will up your ability to keep your clients around long after they have closed. And there you go, gang. That is what we have for you today. It is all about client care. It's about taking the time to plan out the relationships that you will keep forever. I don't know if there's any questions here, if anyone can ask anything. I haven't done these in a bit. I think you can ask questions. And if not, you can shoot me an email if you have a follow-up question. Connor, CONNOR @hatchrealty.com. If you have follow-ups on implementation, I am happy to answer those for you via email. This can be done. It takes some intentionality. I hope you do something with it. Hey, there's Q&A. Hey, all right, awesome. There's Q&A. Yes, we will get this recording sent out. Good question. Any other questions? Going once, going twice. Hearing nothing, gang. We'll get you the recording. It can sound like a lot, but it really starts with scheduling those little consistent buckets. And during the pended phase, sitting down to map out the entire year's worth of follow-up for the soon-to-be past client. Start with that. Follow-up buckets / pended follow-up buckets, and then a time block to schedule the consistent follow-up for the past client plan. There you go. Thanks for making the time to watch this, gang. Appreciate you all. Hoping you have a wonderful rest of your week.